got a bit of a presentation for us, and I'll do some Q&A. And I'll turn it over to Chris to tell us a little bit about what he's got. Kind of interesting. We did a devotion this morning. It was called The Power of Showing Up. And so I went to a Windsor Chamber event for the Bridge Youth Center in Leamington, which I'm involved with, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll go. So I showed up and I sat next to Chris, and then he told me what he does, and I'm like, okay, well, you gotta come out and talk to our office. So I showed up, and now he showed up. So.
Well, I think that's a great segue then too. So I appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk to you all too. But showing up is the same thing online. You know, how do you show up? How do you stand out? And we like to use video. And so, as I say here on the screen that you see here, you know, using video and the power of batch creation to grow your business. So a lot of people are always like, what does batch creation mean? We're going to get into that. I like to keep any of these conversations super interactive as well. So I will ask some questions, maybe put some people on the spot, some old school polls, like raise your hand as we're going through some of this too. But just to kind of introduce myself a little bit here. So again, we're all in content, and what we do is we batch record videos. So we help small businesses, we help solopreneurs, and we're all in on Windsor Essex as a region to help them create high quality batch produced videos. I say batch produced means one day recording with us, you're set up for months of consistent content. And when I say months, I mean months. We're recording anywhere from 40 to 50 to 100 videos in a standard day. My record is 227 videos in one single day. So that means you're set up for almost for an entire year's worth of content. Video is the best tool to ultimately get your message out there. So I want to do a little bit of an old school poll. First, who's been on social media today? Almost everybody. Okay. Who is posting regularly on social media? Okay, the hands. Let's say 3 to 5 times a week. Who's posting on their own? Who has somebody else post for you? Okay, we've got a couple.
Pretty good job for us.
Who's using video? Okay, not as many hands kind of went up. Who's just using static images or posts? Couple? Okay, so it's kind of a mix of what we have here in terms of overall video usage, social media usage. The thing with social media is that everybody almost put their hand up that they've been on social media today, which means everyone who's looking to probably buy a house, looking to sell their house, looking to invest, is also on social media. So the best way to ultimately get more eyes on you, and eyeballs are actually the biggest currency, is to actually show up consistently. And so showing up, which I thought was great when we were talking about that this morning, that's how you want to do it. You want to be able to stand out. How many different real estate agents are in this region right now? 1,600. Okay? 1,600. How do you stand out and how are you different? That is the critical thing you need to look at when you're thinking about your digital presence. And so you could share your story of who you are, what you do, why you do it, what's your specialty, and you can do that over video, which is going to be way more effective than anything else. So when I'm talking to people creating content, I start with these 4 things I like to kind of understand about somebody. It's like, who are you creating content for? Ultimately trying to figure out who those people are, but then why is the content that you're going to create relevant for them? Who do you support? How would you classify your ideal customer? And ultimately, how are you going to stand out? So I'm going to throw it to Cody first.
Sure.
If you were going to create content, how would you start to share who you're creating content for? Like, what is that group? What's that ideal person that you want to create a video or content for?
Families and investors.
Okay. Anyone got a different answer? Families and investors? That's Cody. Everyone trying to do the same?
Maybe new home builders, greenhouse farmers. Yeah, maybe.
Right? Here's the thing. Everyone probably has a little bit of a different specialty in terms of different customers that they might want to start to target to try and, the last one, stand out. Why would somebody want to watch videos or content that you're going to create, Cody, that are maybe for families or investors?
So we did practice story branding.
Mm-hmm.
So our whole thing is we don't want to be salesy. We want to give value and make the client the hero of the story.
Yep.
Because realtors are really good at sharing their ego and not as good at bringing value.
Yeah.
So I would think they would want to watch my content because I'm bringing value, not being salesy.
Yeah. That's a critical part, right? Is that people don't want to feel like they're being sold to. They want to get as much value as possible. And obviously sometimes that's hard to do because you at the end of the day, everyone's trying to make money. They're trying to sell. You're trying to sell a property. You're trying to, help somebody buy a property. And as an investor too, that's the same thing, right? But how do you give as much value as possible? So if you're working with investors, what type of content could you create to help an investor to provide value to them?
Tips and tricks top 10 things that are best bang for your buck, ROI, paint, countertops, whatever.
Yeah. Seeing as a lot of people, they don't know everything.
Oh, I saw a really good one the other day. Someone should steal this. It was 10 things that don't cost a lot of money when you're building a home, but cost a lot of money to do to a home after you've built it.
All those type of lists, that is great content, right? There's multiple ways to record that and shoot that in an easy way. And each of you probably have little tidbits of advice and information that could be really help somebody as part of their, whatever part of the journey they are in the real estate business. So a lot of people, when they start trying to figure out like what kind of content should I do, they start to figure out like, well, how do I come up with ideas? Because I've had some people I work with, like I do coaching and I also do, as we're recording content with them, they're like, well, I don't know what kind of ideas to come up with. So I'm going to talk about 4 different ones that I think will help. The first is what I call an idea bank. And this is one where it's like, if I have an idea, I literally just write it down. And now at this point now I put it into a Google Doc, but that is a good way to capture anything. I have an actual Google Doc of over 1,000 video ideas that I know that I just want to continue to do because I'm always thinking of stuff. As I'm driving here, Raquel's usually the one driving our Jeep, and then I'm always just like coming up with ideas. Like what are the next videos that I want to record? Or what do I want to do with some of our clients? Like we're across, I've got real estate clients, condo management, property management, roofing, plumbing, nutrition, gym. I'm missing so many other clients, but like you can have so many different videos across everything. So if you got an idea, write it down. Now a great tip that I give people when they're trying to just come up with ideas, answer the who, what, where, when, why, and how. Right? If you look at the 5 W's and how, that's 6 videos right then and there that you can ultimately just start to create around what you do. Another thing is Google. See what other people are asking. So every single person here has been on their phone or has been using their phone today. If you pulled your phones out, and I'll ask you to do this now, go to Google, and I want you to type in some sort of term. I want you to start to write something related to real estate. And as you hit enter, you are going to see this. So I'm going to type real estate. Let's go real estate in Leamington. I'm going to type in here. All right, so I start seeing people coming up sponsored posts, a couple realtor pieces. You're going to scroll down to a thing that says people also search for. You'll see that. Okay, if you just hit, say, one of the top ones. So the first one I see here is people are looking for cheap houses for sale in Leamington. You hit that. Obviously, like there's more ideas that can happen. Now, typically, what happens is as you start looking at these are going to be topics that you could actually have to use for your videos. The more you start to expand, the more you start to scroll, the more you can actually see what are people asking for. If you start to create, say, 40 to 50 of these type of videos, this is the top stuff that people are actually searching for in whatever you're looking for in general. So I'll advise clients is like, just start pumping out the videos of what people are searching for on Google. Because people don't see and understand the value of like, if you start putting that on Facebook, more importantly, start putting that on YouTube, that's videos that might start to rank for you and actually give you some SEO benefits to start pushing back to your website, to start getting your content to come up. Because you're actually searching, you're recording content for what people are actually looking for.
I'll add to that too. So my coach, he's been pushing us to do a lot more video creation, and if you're stuck and you don't know where to start, he just said start following all the other top realtors on YouTube in other cities and then just do what they're doing. Because they're all pretty much doing the same thing. So just copy it and make it yours.
Yeah, and like the more you can talk to other realtors in other regions and see what they're doing, like some of them, you know, like they might be kind of consider themselves like almost like the mayor of the town. They go and they just interview other businesses to kind of feature what's kind of happening around the region, right? So like you could sit there and get a lot of content just doing that, or go to hotspots, or be like, hey, I'm going to be the realtor who's going to be the person that's going to help people who relocate to our region. So I'm going to have all my content just themed around the latest, greatest things that are happening, or a new restaurant that's opening up. So there's ways that you can do it. So you're providing value to what you said earlier, Cody, but you're not having to be salesy because you're just actually talking about what's happening in this region. YouTube, same thing. You can go onto YouTube, and you can start to filter down results and start to see what are other top videos that are out there. So it's kind of similar to what Cody was saying. Again, YouTube is the second biggest search engine that's out there. So it's a tool that definitely should be used. And the last one, which I think most people have all heard of or are using maybe in some capacity, is ChatGPT. Who's using AI? Couple? Okay. at the end, how are you using ChatGPT?
Pretty much anything social. So if I need a caption for a post, I'll use that to start it. I wrote my bio for real estate for Century 21 last week using AI. I changed 3 words from it.
Yep.
Pretty much anything I need to write copy for.
And beside, you also put your hand up using AI.
Same, I use it for my remarks, like my listing remarks a lot.
Yep.
Same thing Steph said, just bio stuff. I write an article for a local magazine and ChatGPT helps with that a lot.
Yep.
Like not word for word, but I get a body of it going and you can, just change it from there.
That comment you just said there, I think is so important, is that like ChatGPT or AI in general, because there's multiple ones out there now. I always say it can get you 80% of the way there, and then you put on the final 20%, right? You make it your own, you tweak, you make some adjustments. It's a great way to obviously brainstorm ideas. Like you can just get a ton of ideas flowing and going with it. But like to write new content, to write descriptions, that's easy. That's a great thing that you can do. They just released the latest update in the last week. So now you've got audio and video and everything that can come through it as well. So like it is very, very powerful, very, very quick. The paid version is definitely worth the $20 a month versus just the free version. But AI is only as good as the prompts that you put in. So there's a whole thing I could do on AI, but like it is such a powerful tool that if you're not using it in some way, it's probably like it's doing a disservice to yourself a little bit, I think, in today's world, because it is so prevalent and it's going to continue to become more prevalent. So the more you can embrace it, I think the more that you can win, especially from the video side. Like, there's AI tools that'll just take a long form piece of content. Like we're recording here for a reason, because like I like to like chop things up and I'll share what's kind of going on. But like with this here, I could use an AI software that I can put it in. I'll put this video in, say like an hour, and I'll chop it up and I'll probably get 30 clips from it. And that's just using AI.
And then pull out text from it too and get blog content.
Exactly. And then I can also turn that into a podcast episode and so forth and keep going, right? So there's different types of content. Obviously, we focused a lot on video, but I want to talk about all 4 of these here because I think they're really important to note. So obviously, there's just image posts, which a lot of the major social platforms will do that, right? Like you can sit there and just like snap a selfie, take a picture, show a house, like boom, that's it. The problem with that, and I guarantee you every person who put up their hand saying they're on social media today, is that they're easy to scroll past. Your thumb will just be like, oh, that doesn't stand out. Like, attention spans are shrinking. You know, you got like 1 second really to kind of stand out. So unless you got a really, really strong image, there's a good chance that someone's scrolling. I'm just curious because this is just a fun question. Who uses their thumb to scroll and who uses their finger to scroll? Thumb? Yeah, and it's interesting. I see some people though who will just do this with this. But after a while, your thumb hurts if you're scrolling for a while. So just watch your thumbs, stretch them out, because we're using it a lot. Videos are self-explanatory. Videos on social media, ideally, if you're first starting out, I always say try to be like 30 seconds. If it's longer than that, go up to 60. Some platforms will let you go to 1 minute and 30. You can go a lot longer if you start doing more YouTube-style videos. Definitely, if you're doing any sort of walkthrough, YouTube is where you're going to want to be putting those walkthroughs on. Podcast. Anybody have a podcast? Anybody been on a podcast and interviewed? Just one. Podcasts are a great way to start to build up your credibility, to also get more experience with speaking. And the beauty of it, to go back to the other comment I said here, you take that podcast and you chop it up. You take that podcast and you can also get more clips from it. So I have a podcast agent that I will work with who will book me and other clients on podcasts. And so then you get on, 20, 30 different podcasts. The benefit of that, you get into their audience. And then therefore, those people start to see your content. You start to be seen everywhere.
Third-party verification.
Yeah. The cool thing is, especially in the real estate game, there's a ton of real estate podcasts out there. There's a lot more in the States than there is in Canada, but the value of still being, Canadian-based, but being on a US one is huge. Right? You can get investors who are going to kind of want to work with you. There's a lot of tidbits and advice that you can give. And a lot of these podcasts in the real estate space ended up being, between 20 to like 45 minutes usually in length. But like being on a podcast, it can be very, very beneficial, especially if you're starting to create more content. Who has their own website? A couple?
Everyone. We should all.
Everyone should.
Everyone has a profile. Not everybody has their own website.
Okay, so your own website, at the end, you have your own website?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Everyone should have one. Okay, so anyone have a blog?
I use the website and stuff for some blog stuff. Like I just pull it into Google.
Okay.
We're learning.
You're learning? Okay. So, so the benefit of a blog, and a lot of people are like, okay, like blogs are, articles essentially, like various topics you can come up with. I think this is where ChatGPT comes in really handy, is when you can actually use it to help write majority of a blog post. The reason you would want blogs on your website is that's going to give you content that's going to be found by Google, and it's going to start to share more. So if you take all those video ideas that we came up with using Google and turn those also into a blog, not just a video, then people, as they're searching for that content, your website has a higher chance of starting to show up. The more that you create blog content, the more that you can ultimately just start to get more eyeballs on your website. The more traffic you get, obviously the more opportunities you're going to have people to do business with you. Because it says on average 7 to 10 touch points before someone decides they want to know you and like you and trust you enough to actually work with you. So having a mix of all the different types of content can be huge, but writing blogs, I'd say at least once a week or every couple of weeks, people are able to pump out a new blog post. And there's a lot that you can do from a real estate side regarding blog posts and content. Who's on LinkedIn? Handful. I'm going to go through social media platform by social media platform, talking about some of the pros, the cons with them. Starting with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is primarily seen as more of that professional business-to-business kind of site. A lot of people think of it still just as like, this is where you just go to find a job. It's a lot more than just going to where you can find a job. But it is more professional, and it's more designed to try and find that business-to-business kind of leads. You can do every single type of content that's out there, right? You can do your video, your carousel posts, your social posts. The problem is that there's limited engagement. And I say here, the algorithm constraints are a big challenge when it comes to LinkedIn. LinkedIn really prioritizes comments. So I've paid for coaching on LinkedIn, and every single coach says the same thing. You should be commenting as much as possible before you post any content. And a lot of gurus and influencers on LinkedIn will try and advise people to say, comment 100 times before you even post any content to try and get more reach, which is insane.
It's fake.
Right?
Kinda.
It's like going like, oh, that's a great post, or this is awesome. Like just go comment. Like just blitz everybody with comments, and then that starts to get you more traffic. But that is unfortunately how LinkedIn's algorithm really favors that in terms of overall content. Is the more interactions you can get, the higher your content pushes. But it's really, really annoying. It's a lot of work. Feel free at any point also to like ask me questions and stop. Because again, I want to make sure we have this interactive. Who's on Facebook? A lot more people. Facebook's been around. It just had its 20th birthday, I think, last week. So it's been around for a while. Some people are now saying and looking at themselves like, am I getting old? Like it's been around for over 20. Okay, you were laughing back there.
It's good for reaching boomers.
But it's more designed, they say now, for an older audience. But it's got the largest user base of any social network that's out there. You can do a lot of different content. It's really cool if you're starting to run ads on it because it's got more of a robust tool. You can really target people a lot easier from a Facebook perspective.
So with that in mind, I find a lot of the advertising that you're allowed to do is really, you can't narrow it down anymore.
It's tricky from the real estate side.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restrictions on it. It's very hard.
It goes against all of the
Yes.
rules, and so you have to cut this broad swath.
Yeah, and like you might say something that's definitely not controversial, but then you have to appeal it. A lot of times I'm finding for clients that I work with in the real estate space, they're having to like appeal multiple times, and then it's like sometimes it goes through, sometimes it doesn't, or you're just like, okay, that content didn't work.
You can't go by age or gender or really even geography anymore.
You can't go by geography anymore?
Well, you can still boost and do by geography, but they really like there's a special button you got to click if you've got anything that's real estate related, and then it's hard to get some stuff through. Like I did with another client in Windsor, we're talking about like the housing crisis in general that's kind of happening, right? And it got flagged. We could not get that thing through no matter what we could do. Like you had to go so generic because it just started deeming it as like too controversial. So again, real estate I think is the hardest from a Facebook perspective.
Capitalist.
But it is challenging. So it is very, very tough to get some of that stuff through. It's a lot of trial and error, unfortunately. It's actually one of the biggest pain points I find in the real estate space for this. Changing demographics, though, a lot of people are moving to other platforms. So they're moving to the next one, which would be Instagram, which is also still owned by Meta. So again, same thing. If you're posting on Instagram, it's sometimes a little easier when you're starting to try and run in some of the ads, but still, you still can have a chance of things getting tripped up and flagged, unfortunately. It's primarily, driven now by Reels. It's video it's where it's at for most of it. The challenge is, it's going to be the second point that I list on cons, is that its reach is declining in a lot of ways. They've continued to tweak and change the algorithm. They just launched a new membership structure with Instagram, where it's basically, if you're just on a free account, it's going to be so hard to ultimately get views. They have a new account starting from $15 a month all the way up to $400 a month, where it's like, obviously the more you pay, the more eyeballs you can get on you, which sucks. Like it's really brutal from that perspective, that like that's how they're probably starting to push it. Whether it's going to be successful long term remains to be seen because it's so new, but it's going to be really, really hard. Again, everyone's trying to push that pay-to-play model. TikTok, who's on TikTok? Okay, I see one finger that kind of went up. Two? Okay. So TikTok, obviously just more short form content as well. Everyone thinks it's dancing. Cody, do you want to get up and dance for everybody? Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, hard no.
I thought maybe it was going to happen. We were ready for it too. So it's not just dancing, it's any other type of video. At one point, it was considered the platform to be on if you wanted to get viral content. It's harder and harder to go viral. Again, they continue to change their model. It's more geared towards younger folks, typically, they say, but anybody of any age can be on it. The challenge here, I say, is twofold. Is that there's unpredictable trends. Like you could sit there and follow the latest trend, but that doesn't mean it's actually going to be relevant to what you're doing in real estate. Like, it's not always going to make sense. It's not going to bring you business. It might get you views, but not every view gets you business. And the other thing is the long-term stability. There are legal challenges, obviously, in the US with regards to it and its connection to China, how that plays in Canada, whenever that stuff all sorts out. Who knows? So long-term viability is something I'd be concerned about. And the last one is TikTok. Is YouTube. Who's got a YouTube channel?
Our office does.
Your office does? How are you using it?
Feature videos and market updates.
Good? Nice. There's a lot of power in YouTube. It is really hard to be on YouTube, though, too. Right? I see you here in the green, you're shaking your head like, you know. It is challenging. The reason it's challenging is that there's so many videos that are on there. You're competing against so much. The problem is, though, it is so beneficial that it's still worth doing. It just takes a long time to be successful on YouTube. High production costs as well, because you got to hold somebody's attention, because those are usually longer form videos. Now they've got what's called YouTube Shorts, which is the same thing as Instagram Reels. All your content that you create can technically go across all 5 platforms that I talked about. But again, the competition is really, really challenging. And the key is consistency. So that leads us into the power of what we do at All In Content. We do batch creation. Again, so batch creating content is where we're going to come up with a lot of ideas, and we're going to then work with you to record, edit, caption, thumbnail, and make sure that all that content is flowing and going for you, in the sense that we actually will schedule the content out for release for you as well, so it's as done for you as possible. You just show up and you record videos. But here's the benefits of batch recording content in general. If you're just going to try and do like 40, 50 videos yourself, it's going to save you a ton of time. There's nothing worse than trying to do, I'm going to record one video, and then I got to think, what's my next video for the next day? And then the next day. So you record a bunch. Now the benefit is you start to record them, bring different outfits. Switch your outfits every 5 to 10. Switch your locations up. Like around this office, you probably got lots that you could actually record. All throughout the region, you could record a lot of content. Summer's a great time to record. It's going to make you more productive, because then you're just focused on one thing. I like to batch record, enough content so I don't have to think about it again for a while. Like we're recording with a condo management company this afternoon. We're going to record for the next quarter. So that's probably going to be, let's say, 30 to 50 videos we'll record with them. And we're just going to go to different condos around the region and just go and record content. It's going to make sure you're consistent, because when you're consistent, people start seeing you all the time. You don't get forgotten. The cool thing is like when Cody was saying that we met at the Chamber of Commerce event, people came up to me at that event after we did a little talk, and like, oh, I'm already following you on social media. I already know I want to do business with you, because they've seen me consistently. And that's the cool part, is like if you're seen consistently, people already know you. People come and like, oh, I already know what you do, or I already know your core values, and that's beneficial and that's helpful. So I don't have to actually go and sell that. I just have to keep putting out content. And then obviously the more you organize and stuff you can be, that can be huge as well. So this slide here is just kind of highlighting all the different things that I love to just batch record that I've been doing for the last, say, 6+ years. So I will do long form video. So I will record as many of those as possible. That's usually long form YouTube videos. I will create lead magnets. So that is if somebody goes to my website and they want to download something, I'll just spend the afternoon and say, here's the next bunch of lead magnets that I want to put on my site that someone can kind of download and get value from. All social media videos, as I kind of talked about. Blog posts. I love to create all my blog posts for the year in advance. So I already have everything scheduled for myself and all my clients that like all of their blog content is ready to go on everything. I don't have to think about it again. All social media content, podcast episodes. When I first launched my podcast in 2019, I would record one episode and then I'd wait a week and I'm like, oh, I got to do my next episode. And then I missed a week and I was like, how can I get ahead on this? And I realized, well, why don't I just record all of my content for all the whole, like this, I was doing seasons in advance. So I then had to send my wife out and I said, Raquel, you go shopping for the afternoon. I'm just going to record all of my podcast episodes because I could never record when she was in the house.
It's dangerous.
Yeah. Never could make that happen. Now, no problem. But I recorded 6 months worth of podcasts in an afternoon. And those were like just me and the mic. But it was easy. And that made life so much easier. Memes. I love creating different memes and stuff as well. Comic book guy on there and other stuff that I like to do. That also helps. So again, if you're going to try and batch create content, this is the 4-step process that I advise everyone is first come up with your ideas. Just sit down, figure out what's the content you want to do, create all of it, so whatever format that could be, and then get at least a few weeks to at least a couple months worth of content created, and then schedule it. I'm a big believer in scheduling your content just so you remain consistent. Because here's the thing. As we've been sitting here, it's now 10:23 across myself and 10 different clients as of right now that I have scheduled. All their content has gone live as I've been doing this. I haven't had to do any of it because it's all scheduled and flowing and going for them. That's the power of that. It's like I can be busy doing something else and that content is already going. I'm going to stop for a second there. Any questions so far before I get into more video creation strategies?
Oh, one important thing. So you can schedule the content, but you can still put out other content that's unscheduled, right? Like
Absolutely.
A big part of what we post is houses that are for sale. We don't know they're necessarily going to come up for sale until that week. But if you schedule your video and your other media around that and then slip your other posts in at other times.
Absolutely. Like, and that's the same thing with like if you're going to do like a story versus just like a post or a video too, right? Like as we're driving here, I took a picture of myself and then I did a post as we're driving and I launched that as a story while I have other stuff that's flowing and going here. Just like you continue to pop things in.
I'd like to get to the point where we can do market updates a year ahead of time.
Yeah. If you can know the market, that would be amazing.
You should record your Bank of Canada interest rate announcement now, both ways. Regardless of how the decision goes, you're ready for it.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever you can get ahead.
First person with a video.
Yeah.
But if you posted the wrong one, you look really dumb.
Yep.
Or you,
You
yeah.
get more views if you post the wrong one.
That's true.
That's true. Actually, any kind of content is good content in a sense. And if somebody's like really upset, that's actually better. Because here's the thing: they might make a comment and engage with you, and they're like, say they're trashing you or whatever. That's good because that actually helps you. Gets more eyeballs on you.
Who's the biggest name in music in North America right now? Morgan Wallen. Got arrested 4 weeks ago for throwing a chair off of a bar. His PR manager's like, hey, giddy up. Like,
So I'm not saying go and do that. Like, don't go and break a bunch of laws or anything, right? But there is value in just getting out there. And if you have a little bit of a controversial take, like that's going to get more eyeballs on you. It's going to get people reacting, which is important.
that's why Trump got in, right? He has the attitude any PR is good PR.
That's right.
Even if he's getting ranked over the polls every day.
I'm sure every single person in this room has got an opinion on the market, real estate, interest rates, everything. And so there's value in sharing some of those opinions and then seeing people who want to work with you are going to be like, you know, I want to reach out to you because I like how you're saying this. I like who you are. Because a lot of people, they hide behind video and they're not their true authentic self. They're just whatever they are in front of the camera. That's it. but they're not actually being themselves. So be yourself, and people who want to do business with you will do business with you. Just be authentic.
Yeah, but my real self hides in the camera.
Well, eventually, maybe just set it up in a way that you don't even know a camera's there.
Put a GoPro on your wife. It's her day.
Actually, that actually is a really good strategy too. I don't have that on there, but maybe I'll add that to the list here. I'm going to talk about 4 different types of videos. Scripted, bullet point, on the fly, and then long form. Scripted videos themselves are just that. You come up with exactly what you're going to say, you write it down, and either you have it like a laptop behind the camera, or use a teleprompter app. There's a couple that I recommend if people are wanting to do that style. But that's a guaranteed way to get the same message exactly out. Now, what do you think some of the problems might be with scripted videos?
Sound like a robot.
Boring.
Boring, robot. They don't come across as genuine, right?
There's no blooper reel.
Yeah. Now, what would, like, if you saw somebody doing nothing but scripted videos, would you actually stop and watch them? Maybe the first one, but after a while, you probably get bored and you move on. So the next option then is what I call the bullet point jump cut. Anyone know what that is? Anyone know what a jump cut is? So that would be, I say a line, I stop, I look, say at a sheet of paper or whatever it is, I'm like, my next line. Then I come back, I say it again, I say whatever that line is, and then I move on. And then I just cut the dead space. So it's a little jump cut in between everything, but that's a way to get my message out. Now, I like the bullet point style, which is kind of the next level of it, where it's like I'll work with my clients and say, okay, this is how we're going to open up the video. We're going to start with the hook. Here's a couple bullet points that I want you to say. You free flow it, and then we kind of do a call to action at the end, and I chop up anything in between. They're still quick and easy, but it's a way to kind of get it out without having a script. You have a loose idea of what you want to talk about, but that's it, just super loose. Nothing like word for word for word. But that can be a way to do it. On the fly videos, that's easy. Literally, just pull out your phone and just record it. I love to do a lot of walking and talking videos. Now you're shaking your head. What's shaking your head about?
Not easy.
Not easy?
Some people are not good in front of the camera.
Some people are not. The hardest part is this, is like you're walking and like your hands like shaking.
Top of your head, bottom of your head.
Well, yeah, actually it's a real estate client, I won't say his name. He'll do lives, and I'm trying to encourage all my clients to do more lives, but he's like this. And so it's like, great, yeah, like I see like the top of your face or the bottom half of your face. So if you can, like I think I have it in the bag, but like invest in a selfie stick if you're going to start to do some of those. Get yourself a wireless mic. That's very beneficial as well. But the on-the-fly videos, there are challenges to them, but people do like that. There is some authenticity to it. You're going to go into an open house. What's the harm of doing a live? Right? So you
walk through something like that.
Absolutely. Because here's the thing. So you go through and you do a walkthrough. You're saying, hey, we're doing a walkthrough of this house, or we're doing an open house. Great. Now you see that people are watching, and maybe they start engaging and saying comments like, oh, hi, Shelly, hi, John. And like, I see that you're on here. And it's like, oh, we're going to go here. And maybe somebody asks to go and look at a particular spot. Now you got somebody who's like, oh, they seem to be interested in this. So there's value in going live, doing some on-the-fly videos. And the thing is, you can have that on-the-fly video. Maybe you walked around and talked for 20 minutes, which leads you to the next one, where you chop that content up. There might be something very valuable you say for 30 seconds. That's a video on its own that could be pretty powerful for you. Now, I give here a couple different options as you're trying to record videos yourself. The basic option is just this, cell phone. And I always say get a ring light. You can get a ring light for like $20 if you want. You can get it as expensive as you want as well. But just going with a basic setup is powerful. Now, in a room like this where there's lots of windows, you probably don't need to have all the fancy lights and gear and stuff. But being able to have this is important. Now, to go up the next level, that's when you start to add maybe a little bit of a mic. So the mic that I'm showing here, these are like $40 on Amazon. For the longest time I use these. They'll work quite well. They'll block out some of the sound. It's better than just the sounds you're going to get on your phone. Now, some people might want to do like webinars. They want to shoot stuff in front of their own computer. So I'd say like get a USB mic, maybe get a webcam so you can record some of that content as well. Because on laptop, the webcam on a laptop, they're okay, but they're not great. So having an external one is actually going to be better quality for you. And this is where it starts to get more expensive if you really want to start to ramp things up, where you could have all this other content, but then you start adding lights, starting adding in a bigger camera, start adding lenses. We had this happen at a gym where my camera fell over and it broke, so that was very expensive, so don't have that happen. So make sure you get a good tripod that's really, really sturdy. You can add in green screens if you want to do stuff. This mic here, these DJI mics, they're, $400 or $500 or whatever, but like so valuable to have these because I can block out any sound from it. There could be a car that backfires. This thing's gone, especially with the right editing software as well. As we talk about light though, light is important, so where possible, use natural light. So when you're going through somebody's home and you're trying to maybe produce content or you're doing a walkthrough of some sort, make sure those windows are open. Because the lights above, they might not be as good or might be dark in certain spots. Natural light where you can. If you do need to invest in lights, like I said, a ring light you can get really inexpensive. It's a good way to do it. Sound, it's tough if you're trying to do outside work where you're on the street trying to record content. You get all the street noise, and that's when somebody will honk when they see you doing a video too, which is really annoying. It's the worst. Or we have this happen in our house where some kid in a couple houses over will start screaming and yelling and stuff like that. So where possible, try to reduce the noise sources that you've got. Soundproof space, which would be cool if you're doing something in the same consistent spot, but have a microphone. That's going to be huge. This one, don't neglect captions. I put this stat on here for a reason. 85% of people watch videos with no sound on. That is so important. So people who are on social media today, I guarantee you a lot of you did not have your sound on. You're probably just watching the video.
Yeah, because I wanted to do what we're meeting.
That's right. Well, thank you. That's my segue. So I was in the corporate world for a long time, and I remember we're in this meeting. It's a very important meeting. CEO, COO's there, a bunch of directors, we're all there. And I see this one director, and he's sitting there, and he's scrolling. I was like, oh, it must be like an important meeting and stuff. And I kind of look over, and I'm like, Andy, he's just watching videos the whole time, like during this meeting, right? So people are always watching content, and it's always with the sound off. So again, 85% of them have no sound. That means you've got to have captions. I think every video should have it. There's also benefits from a search engine optimization side. They're also more likely to be watched. I love to add emojis and GIFs. I love wrestling, so I put in wrestling GIFs in a lot of my personal content. But add in animations, things that keep people wanting to keep watching, right? Because you can just do basic captions, sure, but adding something different to it is important. Thumbnails also are really vital when you're creating content. And by that, I mean you have 1 second to make an impression because everyone's just scrolling. So that first image they see is where your thumbnail is. So this one that we're showing here, this one's got bright colors. It says, how does the TikTok algorithm work? So I instantly know what this video is all about. The goal with a thumbnail is to invoke a sense of curiosity, maybe a sense of emotion, get somebody to ultimately click. And usually you want to feature someone's face as well. So then it's going to actually just have a better chance to stand out.
Unless you're ugly.
Well, unless you're ugly. Now here's the thing though. If you are, let's say, ugly or you make a weird face, those do really, really well. Really, really well. So last week was it in Colchester? Yeah, so we were recording in Colchester on the beach with a bookkeeping client, which is very interesting that it's a client who just does bookkeeping and we're recording at the beach because we wanted different locations. And she's from the area originally. And so she's like, I'm going to go live. I encourage her to go live. She goes live from the beach. But her first frame was the most awkward looking image ever. And I can say this because she loved it. It got such great views for her that people were coming up to me and to others at networking events the next week being like, I saw the video and I love it because the picture, the first still, got me hooked. So there's power in just having a goofy face. So I'll work with clients and I'll say, okay, we record our videos. And I said, now I want you to do thumbnails. And they'll do the point up, the down, whatever, the goofy faces. It works. People like to be entertained. Doesn't have to be ugly. But that also plays well.
They probably have a nice personality.
That's what matters. A couple of things just I want to put on from a checklist perspective here. We're kind of getting to the end, and I'll again open it up for a full Q&A here. At the end of the day, you want to engage people and get them to want to watch your content. So start with an attention-grabbing hook of some sort. What's going to get them curious? You know, here are the 3 things you need to know about Leamington right now if you're going to invest in this area. Okay, so like, what are those 3 things? Well, then I'm going to wait. Now you want to keep the video less than 60 seconds.
Tacos, cucumbers, cannabis.
In that order. Okay, now have a concise video, because again, no one wants to watch something that's an hour. If you do that video and it takes an hour, I guarantee most people stop watching real quick. Call to action. You know what a call to action is?
Reach out, do this.
Basically, you're telling somebody what to do next, right? Every video, provide a clear call next step. Maybe you want them to reach out and DM you. Maybe you want them to watch another video. Maybe you want them to go to your website. Maybe you want them to download an ebook that you've got on the top tips to renovate their home. Maybe you want them to just book a virtual consultation or a walkthrough or do a current market assessment of what their property is worth. Whatever that call to action is, you want to mix it up, but you want to have that in your description. So when you're using ChatGPT to write into your social media descriptions, make sure you're asking for a strong hook there, obviously providing value, and then that clear call to action at the end. The thumbnail, as I talked about in the last slide, get them to click. And then use those captions again, because most people will not watch their content. If you want to get confident on camera, because you said that being on camera, that's not your thing, right?
But you did great. I watched your video on Sunday.
It was painful.
You did very well. You wouldn't know you were nervous.
Here's the thing. People always say it's painful, but the more that you do it, and this is where I think the power of batch creating content is good, you sit there and you shoot like 40 to 50 videos. That's a lot of practice.
Your confidence increases.
Your confidence will definitely go up.
Watch it with the sound off so you don't hear your voice.
Yeah. But it's like, so I always say practice good posture. So don't be like just sitting and like looking down the whole time or whatever as you're doing. Maintain your eye contact is also important. Speak clearly and slowly, but not super slowly that you sound like a robot. Maintain eye contact with the camera. So don't be, again, like this kind of eye contact, or like go like this where you're just like staring at the camera. This visual will probably be awful now. But like, you want to sit there and look at it the right way. And maybe subtle glances over to the camera. Like there's many times as we're shooting here, I'm just subtly looking at the camera. And I'm looking at you, but I'm looking at the camera. Show enthusiasm and smile. Hopefully it's not painful. Like, hopefully not. But you know what? That was a perfect smile you just gave there. If Raquel had the camera on you, that would have been the perfect one to capture. Use natural hand gestures. Now, I'm a person who does love to talk with my hands. Now, I got to watch it, so I don't just go and elbow somebody, right? But watch the hand gestures. See what you're going to do there. Ultimately, I think these last 2 are really important. Do what feels right for you. Like if it doesn't feel natural to, let's say, stand, okay, then sit. And the other part is talk about what you know. Every single person in this room can talk about real estate till they're blue in the face. No problem. You can talk about that. Show up. Stand out. Find ways to be different. But don't try and talk about a strategy that maybe you don't agree with. Right? I work with a lot of different people across a lot of different industries. I know there's certain topics that we will not get into, even though they're part of their industry, because they don't believe in it. So I said, don't talk about what you don't believe in. Who here hates open houses? Anybody? Okay, hope not. But I know some people who are in the real estate space who actually hate it. So they don't want to talk about it. They'll do them, but they don't like the idea of open houses. So don't talk about it then. Final tips here. Do what gives you energy. So if you really, really, really hate videos, then don't do videos. But if you like them, do it. Maybe podcast is your thing. Maybe you love doing a podcast because you love interviewing people and sharing their story and talking about what's going on. Then go all in on that. Go all in on your strengths. Now, you don't know sometimes what you're strong at until you do it, and you do it enough times. Here's the thing. I guarantee you, man, you probably would love videos if you just do a bit more.
That's what the plan is.
There you go. I say there's delegate or outsource the rest. If you don't like doing something, delegate it to somebody else. There are plenty of people out there. You can get a virtual assistant to post content for you. We could post it, obviously, with all-in content. You can get rid of the stuff that you don't want to do. A lot of you, you're in the real estate space. You're trying to help people buy, sell homes, invest in properties. Social media is not your thing maybe, but you still need to be the face, right? So that's why the model we came up with is really focused on, we come in, we'll record it, but we're going to take care of everything for you. That's a form of outsourcing it. And then focus and go all in. Like at the end of the day, real estate is a contact sport more than anything else. Like you have to go and reach out to people. You have to connect with people. And you can connect through social media. That's one avenue. But there are probably about 10 to 12 different ways that you can get customers, which again is a whole other workshop of how you can get more clients. But focus and go all in on trying to keep putting yourself out there. Last little thing about me, and then I'll open it up for any questions. Again, so what I do with All In Content, we do virtual monthly content coaching. So if people want help on how to grow their business, maybe they want to do it themselves, but they want some help and guidance, I'll do that. I do half-day, full-day sessions with people as well. That's where we're batch recording that content. So a half-day session, again, we're doing that this afternoon with the condo management company. We're looking probably 40 to 50 videos is my guess what we're going to do today. Full-day session, usually we get over 100 videos in a full day. So then they're set up. It's a long day. It's a lot of videos that we record. But then that's coming fully, all the ideas we come up for you. We coach you through the session, recording, editing, captioning, thumbnailing that. I do things like this, workshops and training for people. We can go more in depth. I obviously went really quick through a lot of this here today. Or we do the done-for-you social media management. And that's where we're scheduling that content for you. Again, you focus on your business and we'll take care of the rest. That's how it really works. And again, it's not just a line, like literally one day sets you up for months of consistent content. As always though, whatever you do, go all in. All right, open it up for any questions on anything that we've covered, because I covered a lot.
Can you talk about power of consistency? Should you have immediate expectations?
So one expectation a lot of people have is that, when am I going to go viral? I need to go viral. Well, you don't need to go viral in order to get business. What's the average commission now for a property probably?
12.5.
12.5. Okay? If you got in front of, what is that? So if you want 120,000 a year, you're selling 10 properties?
Gross, yeah.
Yeah. So you don't need to sit there and go viral. You don't need millions of views. Even a couple hundred views per video, you get one from a video. That's $12,500. Right? Just getting a couple more eyeballs on you is huge. Don't have the expectation that you're ultimately going to instantly win. Like, I'm going to do a video this week and I'm going to be just rolling and they're going to be backing up the Brinks truck of just money. It's just me flowing and going. You can't do that because I think social media is a long form, it's a long game in a way, right? Like, power of consistency is important. Like, continue to put yourself out there, showing up, getting out and having different formats, getting different, events and stuff as well. But like, you have to continually put yourself out there. For realtors, especially in this market, the way things are going and how much competition you have, a lot of people aren't consistently putting themselves out there from a real estate perspective at all. If you showed up even 3 times a week consistently, you're beating 85% of people.
Probably more, yeah.
So there's power in being consistent. Now you can sit there and go consistent and have a video every single day. You'll be consistently seen. You can go to a networking event and I guarantee you someone's going to say, I saw your video. You just got to figure out what's that thing for you. Like, how much do you want to do? Mix in some personal stuff as well. Don't be just all business. Because people want to know, like, hey, Cody, I want to hear about your kids. I want to hear about your family. People want to hear about that personal stuff too. So mix in some of that too.
I've heard also that if you're doing a podcast, you shouldn't expect to get a crowd following you until the 6-month mark.
Well, it depends on how often you're putting out content. Most people give up their podcast at 20 episodes, and it's very rare for people to get past 100 episodes. So if you're doing every week, that's 2 years. Podcasts take a lot of work, but it's pretty cool when you actually see some results from that. Like when I started my podcast, first little while, I thought I was just talking to myself. Sure, it was fine. But then eventually I started doing, I was doing interviews for this job that I was trying to hire for somebody for. And they came on and said, I applied because I have been listening to your podcast for a while. And I was like, really? I'm like, that's weird. But that's cool. People will eventually, they start to know enough about you that they want to work with you the more you put yourself out there. So it does take time though. But what do we got? Almost 20 people in this room. There's probably at least a bunch of podcasts you can do. The thing is, you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can sit there and join up and say, we're going to do a podcast and we're going to talk about real estate investing in the Windsor-Essex region, and we're going to have 4 of us and we're going to invite a guest every single week. You can just turn one of these rooms into a podcast studio easily. Now, there's obviously dependent on the cost of what that looks like, but then you can sit there and have a weekly podcast that goes out, and then that gets chopped up. And so for a 60-minute podcast, you're probably getting at least 20 clips from that. And then you share that across the 4 people who are on there. Boom, there's your 4 to 5 posts per week.
Would you recommend a longer form podcast, or is there an advantage to doing a quick 20, 25-minute podcast?
I think starting with shorter is better, just when you first start going, because people aren't going to know you. And they're like, why am I going to tune into you? Right?
Listen to it for an hour.
Well, and some people will. And some people don't. Like, there's video podcasts, and then there's like audio-only podcasts. You can decide which one you want to do too. Like, I love when we're going on long drives, like I'll listen to a podcast or we're walking along the river or whatever it is. I'll listen to an hour-long podcast on something. And then video ones, I'd like them to be usually shorter, but sometimes I'll watch the super long ones that go on for a couple hours depending on the topic. I think you got to figure out what your audience likes. So it's a lot of testing, I think, when you're starting to do a podcast.
If you haven't started shooting your own videos, I heard the 2 easiest tips are camera above your face to hide your double chin, and if the window's there, camera's in front of the window.
Agreed. Totally. I will record a lot of stuff just sitting in our kitchen, like with the camera there, like at the window. And I don't know, I was bad for this. Raquel would give me crap for this all the time, whereas like when I would start doing it, she's like, you're too low. Like you gotta like have it the right way. That's where the power, I think, of having like a tripod or having a selfie stick can make a world of difference. Like, again, you don't have to go super expensive with this stuff, right? But like, sit there and have a selfie stick here is huge. Like, I'm not saying you always need to sit there and have it on you, right? But like, to sit there and have, let's do it this way.
One guy in public walking around with a selfie stick.
Like, you can, who cares, right? So you sit there and like, you just sit there and record, and you record for like 30 seconds. Take a look and say, okay, no one's around me. I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to record it now. But like, you could just easily do that. And then like, now you've got something that looks good. You're sitting there walking. Now, hopefully, again, you're holding it fine. It's not like shaky as all hell, because that sometimes gets hard for some people, right? But you can get what's called gimbals too, which help stabilize things. It's going to cost you a little bit more. I'm talking like $100, $150, $200, depending on how big you want to go. But that can be another way to stabilize things.
Open floor, if anybody's got any questions? Hey, thank you guys.
You're welcome.
I think it was really good content. I don't know about you guys.
I was going to say, if anybody wants to record a video, we can do a video in front of you all right now. I like to always put that out as an offer in case someone's brave enough to step up and do a video. But like, it's just thing. You could go all in on video. Like, I challenge every one of you to start trying to figure out how can you just show up consistently, and ultimately stand out. 1,600 people who are in the real estate space. How can you 20 stand out and be different?
Hey, I was about to show our stats for the month. What if I made a quick video out of that in front of everybody right now?
Sure.
Good idea.
You putting anything on the screen, or?
Nope, I just read it off the sheets here.
Okay.
And you can keep all in on the background there.
Okay.
Is the sound all right?
I'm going to switch to this. So you can either put that mic underneath, or you can just do the clip. Either way. Perfect.
I lost your magnet. I'm going to move this over here. Okay, so beginning of every month, I send everybody the stats that shows number of active listings that were left over at the end of the market versus the number of sales that happened during the month. The one error we're finding in that is that it's the entire price range. So if you look at the stats for the entire price range of all of Windsor-Essex County, right now there's 1,602 active listings, and there were 419 sales in the last 30 days. So that gives us 3.8 months of inventory, which is seller's market, approaching balanced market. But there's 2 very different markets happening at the same time, even though we're looking at the entire price range scope. So there's 2 price ranges. Our average sale price right now is approximately just under $600,000. Okay. So what I did is a search of active listings as of this morning under $600,000. And sales in the last 30 days under 600,000. There are 757 actives under 600 with 265 sales. So that's 2.8 months of inventory which is very different than 3.8 months of inventory. The other side of the market is over the average sale price, $600,000 and over average sale price. 841 actives with only 154 sales. So we're at 5.5 months of inventory over 600,000 versus 2.8 under 600,000. So even though we're telling people it's a seller's market, it's actually a seller's market under 600,000, and it's actually a balanced market over 600,000. And if you went to the next degree, which is $800,000 or more or $1 million or more, very, very different, where you're probably going to see 8 to 12 months of inventory once you approach that luxury or high-end segment of the market. So there's two very different markets, and Chris came in this morning and said, okay, Cody, how's the real estate market right now? And I said, well, which one? Because there's under 600 and over 600, and it's an important conversation to have when you're with your sellers, because if you're coming into a listing that's $800,000 or $1 million, you need to sit down with your clients and say, okay, well, for every listing over $800,000 that's active right now, say there's 10, we're only seeing 2 sell in a month. So depending on how you want to price it, you could be one of the 2 that sell, or you could be one of the 8 that don't sell until next month, or maybe don't sell altogether, or they sell once they reduce their price. So what's your motivation? How quickly do you want to move? If you're not really motivated, you might go with the higher end pricing strategy, but if you want to be one of the 2 that move this month, we got to look at being competitive in the pricing. So that's a little bit what's going on with our market. And anyways, I planned to present those stats anyways, but I figured I'd show you guys video, because why not? We're doing it here anyways.